Hi guys, I'm Kate Cantu with the Jasper County Conservation Department, and we are going to be making some fresh evergreen wreaths. And if you came to our office and got your kit, you should have pretty much all the materials that you need. This is normally a holiday program that I really look forward to in December with our Older, Wiser, Livelier Seniors group, our Owls group, when we get the whole back garage in the Armory building decked out with holiday stuff and music, and we have coffee and treats, and it's just a fun time at the end of the year to get everybody together and have some fun making some Christmas decorations. And unfortunately we can't do that. So thanks again for checking out a kit, and I think this will be a lot of fun. In your kit you would have gotten a wire wreath frame, a bag of fresh evergreens that we had clipped. There's going to be a little roll of wire that you'll be able to use, and some pine cones with wire, a bow, and those are the basic things to get you started. Now you're not limited to this stuff. If you want to add whatever else inspires you to your wreath to make it your own, we think that's great. And that's one of the fun things about doing this with a group of people, is you can see what everyone else is doing and kind of glean inspiration off some of the other projects. So I had gone out just to my backyard and found some things that I thought might be fun to stick in a wreath. And if you have things like that, or maybe a neighbor or someone you know that would let you take a few snips of greens or anything really. I mean, I found some sumac berries that are red. I thought were kind of pretty. If you're going to use something like this, you might want to spray glue or like a Mod Podge or something to kind of hold it together and keep it a little fresher. I had some dried flowers off my hydrangea bush. I thought looked pretty unique. I think dried grasses. A lot of people have ornamental grasses in their yard. That might even be kind of pretty. This was interesting. This was a little twig off my crabapple tree. I thought, berries are kind of pretty in wreaths, and maybe I could work with that a little bit. And I like to grow herbs, and I don't know, the more I got looking at this, now they probably should have been maybe dried a little bit better, but since we're doing fresh evergreens, this is thyme, and it was already kind of drying up a little bit, and all these smell wonderful. If you want to have a really good smelling wreath, I had some sage, some lavender. My office has been smelling really good with all this stuff. Boxwoods are a bush that pretty much stay evergreen, and I kind of liked the texture of those. You might have some other little ornamental bushes. This was from a yew, little juniper bush. I even trimmed off, I buy a fresh Christmas tree, and we trim off the very bottom branches, so this would be fir off a fresh Christmas tree that we had trimmed up. And so if you have access to anything like that, all you really need is some snippets. It doesn't take a whole lot, and it just maybe will add a little bit more to your project. And I think if you just kind of look around outdoors this time of year, I know things aren't as green and lush or anything, but there's so many beautiful things in nature right now. Even when it's kind of dried up and past its prime, it's still really pretty, and you can find all kinds of natural items, I think, that would make your wreath project pretty special. Okay, and I don't worry too much about clipping stuff because all trees and bushes need pruning anyway. So that's a whole nother program. I think I'm a big pruner, so do not feel bad if you go out and snip stuff off bushes. It's probably good for them. Okay, the other thing you might want, I have some pruners. Maybe a heavy-duty scissors would work too, and depending on what you're working with, you might want a pair of gardening gloves. What we've got in your bag is some flat leaf, it's kind of a little bit darker green, arborvitae. This is nice flat stuff that makes a nice shape. And we've got white pine, and white pine has the long needles and kind of gives that nice soft texture. These are not prickly or anything to work with, as you've noticed. The pine can get a little sticky with sap when you're trimming on it, so you might want gloves for that. But depending on if you go out and clip spruce or cedar or something like that, it's very prickly. You're gonna wanna work with gloves for sure, okay? So you're gonna look at your greenery here, and there is lots of it in your bag that you can use here. You may wish to not use all of it, and that's perfectly okay. You can stick some in like a little centerpiece or make a little swag for your door too. Just looking at this, the pine's fluffier, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put the arborvitae down first, and I'm going to work my way around the hoop with this, and because it lies nice and flat, and I'm going to layer it. I'm all about layering and get that different texture. If you only wanted to use one of these, I guess you're welcome to do whatever you want. And the nice thing about the wreath frame is you can poke your stem through there and kind of weave it in, and that will kind of hold it together, and you just twist and kind of work around the frame. Now if you're worried about them coming loose and as you start to add more and more, that's where the wire comes in. And you'll basically kind of make like a long twist tie and poke it through and come back around your stem and part of the wire frame and just twist that on, and that will hold it. Now here's one of my little tips for this. Give it a couple twists and leave the long ends sticking out. Don't trim those off, leave them out, because as you come around with your evergreens, you can use that to tie down another one, and then you're not adding millions of pieces of tiny wire. You just got that one, and you can just keep using those ends. So there's a piece, and you know, we can work in another, and you're just going to layer your greenery on here. And if it's really big, you might have to wire down the top as well, just to kind of hold it to the shape. If you stray too far from the frame, it's going to look pretty big and shaggy. Maybe you kind of want that one. But so for example, here's one that sticks straight up, whoops, and one that's kind of fallen out. So I'm going to put that where I had those ends of my twist ties sticking out, and I'm going to use that to tie those down so that they're closer to the frame and more of a nice circle wreath shape. All right, I will take my arborvitae. I'm going to go all the way around, and if they're really big, most of these have been trimmed to a pretty decent size to work with. Now this one's pretty big and spread out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to prune these off, and I think I'm going to use the little pieces for layering maybe on the top. So I'm going to make some cuts here and get a little bit more manageable size piece. And if it's too long in the bottom, you can cut that off as well. And just keep working your way, weaving that in, and filling in the gaps around your wreath. I've got a base layer of arborvitae going around my wreath. You can see it's not totally covered yet, and I still got a few sort of long ends sticking it up. But I've got a pretty good shape here, and so nice flat leaves to make the base layer. Now I'm going to take my white pine. I think I'm going to layer it this way, and I'm going to go around with the white pine and fill in those gaps a little bit more. So I'll poke the stems in and keep wiring. I've got some wires sticking up here now, and I'll just keep using those, maybe add a few more as well. I've used up almost all of the greenery in my bag. I've gone around the wreath a couple times with the arborvitae and the pine, and I see I've still got just kind of a few wild ends sticking up here. And as I've gone, I've tried to maybe weave them back in a little bit, or wire them down with the second row or second layer as I've gone around. So that way you cover the frame a little bit better, and you get that nice wreath shape, and it doesn't look like it's all over the place. So I might need to do a little bit of that more here at the bottom and here on the side. And so I like to every so often maybe hold it up and take a look at that and try and fix it. I've got one really wild one up here at the top. And honestly, if it bothers you that bad, you just get rid of that one. All right, and so just trim it up and just keep stuff really close to the frame, and wire and tie all that down. Now if you run out of wire, twist ties work really good. This is just floral wire that you can get at a craft store, and so there should be plenty of it there, but if you do need a little bit more, twist ties are kind of a good hack on that too, especially if they're green and they blend in a little bit. But you'll want to tie down those ends. And I've got some more little ends here, and you know, like the one I just snipped off, I don't want to waste any of that. And to fill in, if there's still a few little holes you're just not really happy with, here's another little tip to getting those tucked in and adding a few extra things too. I'm going to make a little bundle here with some of my ends, and I'll trim that end off. So I got a little arborvitae, a little pine. I'm gonna go over here to my herbs that I picked. So I really think they might be kind of a pretty addition. And I had some of this boxwood. All right, so basically just sort of make a mini bouquet in your hand. Okay, and I really liked this fir. Okay, and so you're going to take what other little clippings you have, or whatever's left over from your kit that's just kind of laying there, and you're going to make just this sweet little bouquet. All right, and then you'll take a piece of your wire or twist tie, and you're going to tie that wire around your little bundle. And make sure you have some ends there that you can work with. So twist that on tight. So here's my little bouquet. Get it turned the way I want it. And then I'm going to look at my wreath here. I don't have a ton of workspace in this particular spot, but I'm going to figure out about where I want that on my wreath. And I'm going to poke the little ends of wire in there around my frame. I'm going to tie down a couple ends of this pine that I don't like while I'm at it. And I'm just going to twist. Find my end in the back. I'm going to twist these little bundles into my wreath frame, and this is an easy way to fill in any of those gaps. Get your stray ends tied down so they're not all crazy, and add a few extra pretty little touches. And so I'm going to twist that into the back, and so you can see. And then to cover up the stems, we'll just kind of. Pretty easy. All right, you just kind of fudge around with it a little bit, and then you can keep going around and add your fun stuff. The pine cones have plenty of extra wire in them as well. That would probably be really pretty at the end of a bundle, if you don't feel like you have enough of this. And then you could go to the dollar store. These were just a bunch of poinsettias that we clipped apart. Those would be pretty tucked in there if you have anything like that at home. And then you have a bow, and we had a couple different bows. We had store-bought bows, and then we have these wonderful homemade bows. And I am not an expert at this, so I'm sure that some folks out there are way better at tying bows than I am. If you're one of those people and you're not really happy with my bow, feel free to take it apart and do it over again. But there's some length of wire at the end, and so you can wire your bow on. If you want to make your own, we get wire edged ribbon. It's really important that it has the wire edge, because you will have to fluff this and shape it when you're all done, and the wire really makes it nice. Otherwise it just kind of flops there and doesn't look as pretty. And we buy 9 feet rolls. They are 2.5 inches wide, and one of these will make a bow. Okay, so if you want to make some different colored bows or something, I believe these are probably at the dollar store as well. So 9 feet will make you a nice bow, and then you can just trim the ends and wire that bow on. And that's kind of fun too. I'm usually a bow kind of bottom off center. I don't know, some folks might want a bow hanging at the top in the middle, or a bow hanging in the middle at the bottom. That's always pretty traditional too. So you can twist your bow on as well, and any other little fun things that will make this special. And they're super easy to hang. You probably already have some little bits of wire sticking out the back from the stuff you twisted on, or you can even just use the frame itself to hang these. Now, if you find that you don't want the bow that was in your kit, or that sort of thing, you can return that back to the conservation office. We will gladly take any of that back. Just put it back in a sack, and you can bring it into us at the Armory building, or you can just set it outside our door. We will get that because we reuse all of these materials, and we will gladly take any of that back. And so don't throw anything out at the end of the season. So when you're all done with this wreath after the holidays, you can take your bow or whatever else you can pull out of the wreath and put that in a bag and reuse it. And if you don't want it again, then you can turn it back to us. And please do not throw away the wire frames. Okay, do not throw those away. We would love to have those back. If you don't think you would do this again, or bring it back to a program that we offer, hopefully next year we'll see everybody in person. But hang on to those frames. Those are good for years. And these really are a fun project. We have a lot of people that like to do these wreaths. We would certainly use them again, even if you don't. So we are always welcome to new ideas or new things that you guys bring in for us too. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish kind of fixing the shape of this wild wreath here, and maybe adding a few of my extra things. And thanks for joining. I will check back in here with my finished wreath in just a little bit.